Hey, what's up? It's Brandon Sobotka here with Brand Backstage, where you get a behind the scenes answer to any comment, question, or concern that I receive throughout the week about building a brand and entrepreneurship in general. And today, what we're going to talk about is solving the inconsistency of posting content. And really, if you think about any of the experts, anybody that you follow probably you're subscribed to their community, or you try and keep up with them. That they distribute content consistently, right? They're either in your inbox daily or weekly, or at least monthly. If you follow them on social media, you know that they're on there at least probably on a weekly basis. And these days, they're probably on there dozens of times in a day, and they're doing it every day, right? And they're not only just doing it every day, they're doing it on multiple platforms. Today, if you really want to build a brand, then posting consistency is extremely important. And you can see that with many of the experts. And we're going to talk about that more a little bit later. So, what are the big problems that I see that people really struggle with when it comes to content? Well, the first one, in my opinion, and this is dependent upon where you're at in your business, but the first one that I see a lot of times that I think happens more with people who are just getting started on the content distribution piece, just starting to put the content out there, is they're waiting to be discovered. They're sitting back, they're posting a piece of content here, posting a piece of content there, and waiting to be discovered. Now, here's what's great. If the content is good and you're very clear on your plan and who you are targeting in terms of your ideal clientele, then having a monthly something is not a bad thing, whether that's a newsletter or just a blog or a video. As long as you're distributing it in those really very specific ponds, we'll call it, right? Like the big fish in the small pond. You're placing it in these nice little focused ponds that are loaded with your type of fish, then monthly distribution could be great, right? But I would say that's the first problem that I see is waiting to be discovered, right? Typically that's a problem because there's other people who are in that same pond doing it more than you are, right? And a lot of times, because they're being seen more often, they may be perceived as the go-to more than you are. The second thing I see is a fear of being ignored. I think it's just human nature that we are humble beings a lot of times. Many of us, I wouldn't say all of us, but the majority of us, I think, are humble when it comes to trying to talk about ourselves or promote ourselves. We don't want to be too forward. And in that process, what happens is either we're a little timid when we put it out there, or we're just not putting it out there enough. And because of that, we're not getting as much attention as we believe we should, or really maybe that we definitely deserve to. And in that process, we start to maybe build some insecurities that then have us fearing even more of being ignored and not being heard, even though we know we have that value to deliver. And so you have to kind of get over that insecurity or judgment of self, or even hanging too much on vanity metrics. I think that's very important, is to get rid of that thought of vanity metrics are the end-all be-all, because they're not. And a lot of times what you don't know is, even though you may not get a lot of likes, comments, or shares, people are still seeing you and your stuff, which is building a connection of some in some way, right? Whether that's repelling them, or whether that's pulling them near and building a bridge of trust. So the second one is a fear of easily being ignored. And then the third is, I would say, just the general overwhelm or effort that really has to come in to play when planning, creating, and distributing content. Just the whole content process is a pretty thorough one. And a lot of times, if we've never done content, if you have no experience in creating content, if you have no experience in planning it, and then now all of a sudden you're distributing it, it can become overwhelming and it can become daunting and it can take a toll on you. So, I know we're getting told, like, capture everything on here and just shoot and say what you need to say. I definitely think there's value in that. But you still have to be strategic in what you're putting out there in doing that a lot of times, I feel. That's my opinion. Because anybody who's capturing or documenting content, that content that they're documenting and then the actual content that they're distributing from that documenting is actually really pretty strategic if you think about it. So if you really think about it, sure, they're capturing more content in the moment, but they're distributing it in a very strategic way. So you still have to remember that the quality has to be there. You still have to remember that strategy has to be behind that. And all of that could be overwhelming to think about. So those are pretty much the three big ones that really get in the way are the waiting to be discovered, fear of being ignored, and the overwhelm and exhaustion that comes with just content, all the pieces, moving parts of content creation and distribution in general. So how do you solve that? Well, number one, I think you have to get mentally prepared, right? You have to know that you need to be confident in what you're distributing and focus on quality first, right? I think once you understand that, all right, I can't get in a rush just yet. I need to focus on what is the best content I can put out there and collect and organize that, right? Get in that mental game that you know that the content that you're going to be putting out there is high quality content. Number two is study that content really well. And I'm not saying that you don't know that content already. You may or may not. But I know many of the entrepreneurs that I work with who are solo or small ops entrepreneurs, influencers, or client service professionals, coaches, consultants, speakers, trainers, and other service professionals who are working with clients specifically, they don't have a huge background in creating and distributing content. And so the first few times as they're laying down this curriculum, if you will, a lot of us, they create a system which has a curriculum. Then that curriculum is where the content is coming from. And in doing that, it can get jumbled around in the head about what's going where and when and all this type of stuff. And so if you're studying that content that you are really, really, really good at, then it will come out really easy. And then you can really do this really well, right? You can document and capture on the spot, right? When something pops in your head that's authentic and genuine or important or valuable, you can pull this up, you can shoot it and say it, right? I always forget this, so I don't know about you guys. I'm still not good at catching this. I'm so focused in what I'm doing in the moment that I always forget to, a lot of times I don't even carry my phone with me when I'm going to do important things because I don't want to be distracted. And so I'm not very good at the documenting and capturing thing. My wife, she does it all the time. And I'm like, oh, I wish I would have remembered that. But that's just something that she, and I think part of it is she's from that generation where that's a little bit more normal. My generation, we were just these were just brand new as I was growing up. So that would be the second thing, is really studying your content topics, right? And then, so once you have the right mindset, you've studied the content, then I would piece together a nice, consistent plan for you, right? That plan should be based around very specific content goals. And it should be based around the time, energy, and resources that you have. Here's what I mean. So the plan should be based around your content goals. The content goals typically come from the marketing campaign goals that you're trying to achieve for that month or that quarter, or whenever you're running that campaign. That campaign goals usually comes from the marketing goals of the business, and the marketing goals of the business typically come from the overall business goals. And so if you can nail down those content goals that align with all of those, and then put together the step-by-step pieces that help you achieve that based off of your time, energy, and resources, then you're going to be consistent. Here's what I mean by time, energy, and resources. As a solo, small ops entrepreneur, you only have so many hands on deck. And so what we have to identify is, at the beginning of the month, even at the beginning of the quarter, whenever you do your planning specifically, is you identify how much time you're going to have available in the calendar in order to potentially knock out all of this content, right? And if possible, you're going to do it in advance. Then you want to try and take into account all the other things that are on your calendar that may drain you of energy, or the potential problems that may come up that will drain you of energy. So for example, if you're traveling and you think you're going to be knocking out, 3 or 4 blogs on an airplane, did you consider that the person that might sit next to you is going to talk your ear off? I don't know. I'm just making something up, right? Or did you think about that you didn't sleep well the night before in the hotel, and now when you're flying, you're exhausted and you're just going to sleep on the plane instead of write those blogs or create the content that you need, right? So that's time and that's energy, right? And then the resources, are you able to potentially outsource some of this stuff, right? Can you pay other people to write it and write it well? Can you pay for production and post-production of video content, or can you pay somebody to distribute it, right? So out of all that information, you should have a nice, clear, laid out calendar with the dates and the times, the types of content that you will be distributing. And really that comes from your content goals, to the core types that you're going to distribute, to your general content, to your promotional content, and then your micro content, which is usually like your social media and stuff. So if you can lay that out, boom, you're going to have consistency. I know that sounds like quite a bit out of the gates, but really it's getting in the right mindset, right? How do you do that? First of all, know that your content is good. If you don't know that your content is good, then do what I said. Number 2 is study your content. And then once you study your content and you get really clear and confident on that, then you can easily start to lay out a plan, right? A plan just being the days and the times that you plan on distributing specific content. And if you get that done in advance, then you should be able to be prepared. And what do I mean by be prepared in advance? Is if I know today what I need for September, then I have all the rest of this month to create the blog, shoot the videos, pitch the publication articles, whatever it is, create the emails for September, right? And a lot of times if you just set aside some time to batch create, then you will have time to shoot 3 or 4 videos on a Friday or something like that for you, right? So those are the things that I'd recommend considering. And, we have all of this in our, what we call the content catalyst, or our catalytic content module in our system, where we literally work through the planning of content, the publishing, which includes the content creation, and then where we're going to publish it, and then the promotion of that content. So the ongoing promotion, to move it through our funnel from a cold audience to a warm audience to a hot audience. So that is module 6 of our 9-step process. And so there are things that need to happen before that, but I'm assuming that you're asking this question that you knocked out some of those things. If you do have questions about how to be even more prepared for that, feel free to reach out to me. If you think this is valuable, if you found it valuable for you or colleague who would benefit from it, please feel free to share, like, comment, ask questions below. I will get to those comments and questions as quickly as I can. And a lot of times I'll even save those after I answer them, and I'll remake videos to go even deeper on them. So I know I can't go too deep on a comment, but that's why I'll make these videos, and that way you guys can check them out later. So I appreciate you guys being here. Once again, this is Brand Backstage, and I'm Brandon Sobotka. Until next week, I'll see you later. Have a good week.